Hi, I'm Meg.
And I'm David.
Welcome to The Average Vegans, a podcast to help you live an attainable vegan lifestyle. We're not the ripped influencer vegans you hear about in other podcasts. We're just some ordinary people living in the South, eating plants and loving animals.
And on this episode, we're talking about Thanksgiving, the next major holiday coming up, at least in the States.
My favorite holiday? Well, at least, okay, second favorite holiday.
Because
New Year's is my favorite.
why is oh,
I know. No one ever says that.
that's
And it's not
weird.
like I go out. I haven't gone out partying on New Year's in like
Oh,
a decade.
I'm learning new stuff about you on the
I
show. All right,
I like the
you like
thought of
big
starting
butts and you cannot
over.
lie.
What?
You like big butts and you cannot lie.
I mean that too, yes. Such a dork. No, I like the thought of like starting over, a fresh start, a new
We
year,
need to.
brand new start.
We'll have to
Everyone's
do
all
a.
motivated and positive, and everyone's like, ready to take on the world. And
I see.
and then
I see a New Year's episode coming.
yeah, well, of course, yes,
Yeah, I see.
absolutely,
Maybe. We'll talk. We'll talk. Right now, this episode's Thanksgiving, but New Year's. Right, make a
yes.
note. We got this. We're writing it down.
Thanksgiving. It's all about the food.
Is
I'm
that why you like it?
excited.
Is that why you like Thanksgiving?
Yeah. And I mean, even though there's a lot of cooking, it's relaxing, like after you're done with all the cooking
Oh,
part, you just chill for the rest of the day. You eat, watch football,
see,
or whatever you watch on TV on Thanksgiving besides football. I don't even know what
I
that
don't know.
is.
I
And just relax.
It's funny you call it relaxing because growing up, like, of course, I have there's three of us boys and my dad, and we had family over all the time. So my vision of because you're a mom, so my vision of a mom on Thanksgiving is just like chaos and stress and terribleness. So apparently you don't have to you don't deal with it that.
No, it's not that crazy for me because it's usually just the four of us. It's my husband and I and our two daughters. We have a little bit of family here, but they're usually with different family, like the other sides of their
Yeah.
families. And all the rest of our families are in New York or Florida. So it's usually just the four of us, which is pretty low key for Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of kids running around. I have teenagers now. So it's
Huh.
very chill. We have a very chill holiday. They help me cook for like the first time in the whole year. It's like the only time I can get them to help me with anything. um I just enjoy like the familyness of it and the relaxing and then the food. I love Thanksgiving food. It's the
Because
best.
watch my mom deal with it every year. I always like if I was at a situation where I had like a big house and like I had family coming over, and I would just like, why don't we just cater this?
No.
It just seems like the cost would be almost the same as like buying all that food and cooking it. Why not just like hire someone, cater it? It's roughly the same cost. They'll clean it up and we can chill and watch the football game or the parade or whatever's on TV. It just seems
I
like
mean,
it seems crazy. Like I cook every year because it's just me or I go somewhere. But yeah,
I like it, and I feel like, we've talked about how I'm not a big fan of cooking. I almost wish that I didn't have to ever cook. I wish the food could just come to me, in general. But on Thanksgiving, I kind of just embrace it and love it as much as I can because it just makes me think of good holiday memories. And I don't know, I just love all the food. And we'll get into the food, but I don't make anything that's not a typical Thanksgiving dish. So it is
right,
very much the same kind of food I had as a kid, but just veganized. So it's very familiar.
right.
I guess I like the familiarity of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think I'm kind of the same way. Like, and you and I've discussed before how I it feels like most holidays change as you get older. Where
Yeah.
Christmas is like Santa Claus, or I was raised in the South of the United States, so I have a very specific view of this time of the holidays. I
Right.
didn't really celebrate any other religious holidays, so that's my view. But and Easter was a certain way. It's just all these holidays change because when you're Christmas and you're younger, it's like Santa Claus. And it's like, oh, we're getting gifts, and then as you get on your older, you're just like buying for friends and stuff like that. So it changes. It
Right.
has a different mystique to it. Even like Halloween changes for you.
Yeah.
You're little, you're like, you dress up with your, and you get older and you're with your friends dressing up and you go into parties, and then it's just like you're 37 and you're like, I guess I'll make Halloween pizza and you'll drink a beer and watch a movie. That's what it turns into,
Listen,
which is
we
mostly what you
both
and I
made
did.
we both made vegan pizza for Halloween. That's just how we roll.
But and it feels like Thanksgiving is mostly consistent. You cook
Yeah,
more. You do. Yeah. When you get older, you tend to like contribute to the the food
the
that's being
meal.
brought.
Yeah.
Yeah, to the meal. Thank you. But the spirit is still kind of the same. You're going together, collective, whether it's with friends and or family, whether your immediate family or your group. You're all eating kind of the same food and you're watching the same things. It's kind of, other than like contributing to the meal, it stays consistent.
Right.
So it always feels like, okay, this is normal. Especially nowadays, we need some of that normalcy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like, what's it gonna look like this year? I mean, I know that yes, people will continue to get together even though there is a pandemic. But like, you shouldn't. um, but if there are, small groups that you have quarantined with or families that have also been very safe and you combine, like, what is that going to look like this year? Will it look different for some people? For us, it'll be pretty much the same because, again, it's just the four of us.
right.
But this year, we're hoping that you're going to join
I hope
us.
so. It looks that
I
way
hope
unless
so.
things change in my world. I have
Uh,
I have some family who I love dearly, but they don't take this as drastic of an issue as it is. Not a I don't consider living in fear. It's not. I'm not afraid really. It's just
right.
I'm living in understanding of the now times, and like I listen to science. You and I both are very. What does the science
Yes.
say? And the science says do this and don't do that. And I go awesome.
Right.
So I say it's living with intelligence as opposed to living in fear. And they
I like that.
they're choosing to kind of ignore a lot of the protocols. As such, I don't.
Right.
I mean, I feel as with I'm healthy enough where I'll do fine if something happened. But my concern is inadvertently spreading it to others,
Yes.
as well as the long term damage. Even if you're healthy, there's possible long term damage to lung and your heart and kidneys and things like that. Most people have had issues with being weak, having weakness issues after. A friend of mine has had it twice, and
Yeah.
she's been fairly safe. It's just that she works in an industry where she has some exposure, and she's still. I mean, this was months and months and months ago, and she's still not. She still has residuals from it. So
Right.
anyway, I don't get too down. We're talking about
And
food tastiness.
exactly. So this year will be a little bit different, but I think the same things will still be prevalent during this holiday. You're still going to eat the same kinds of food. You're still going to relax, hopefully, at some point. You might watch some football with family. It's still going to kind of be the same. It just may be smaller groups, which is great, perfectly fine. You don't all have to congregate. It's okay.
Yeah.
um, so normally you go to your parents' house and they have non-vegan Thanksgiving food.
Right.
Right. And then you bring your own stuff, usually. Is that how you handle Thanksgiving?
Oh, how I handle it? I thought you were being generic of how to handle it.
No, I'm talking to
No, yeah.
you.
So, how I handle it is I usually kind of make a menu for myself of like what I want. So usually it's
Right.
like there's things I had growing up that I like to have, like your mashed potatoes and your mac and cheese. 'Cause my mom was like some sort of like pasta bake thing or whatever. Some sort of like quote turkey replacement, which
Right.
we'll get into.
Which we'll get into, yeah.
Yeah. Usually for me, that's either something that's pre-made because it's easy, or I'll make like a lentil loaf or something, kind of like almost like a meatloaf kind of thing.
Right.
Um, and I'll check in with my mom because my mom is she's fairly supportive. So
Right.
she's like, I'm like, hey, what are you making? So that because she's like, oh, I'm making mashed potatoes just for that's vegan for you. I'm like, sweet. I'll hit
Oh.
my mic. Then I won't make extra because no point me making more than I'll take home because then she'll immediately go
Right.
take this with you. We're from the South, so it's just like food and take everything you can with you. So then I have I have basically meal prep for like a month and a half. So I usually would check in with whoever's in charge of the food and the meals and stuff. Like say,
Right.
okay, what's going to be there? That way I don't double it up.
Yeah.
But yeah, I usually just I make my own menu of what I want, and then depending on what it is, if I know someone's likely not to eat it, like if I'm making like a kale salad, my mom may try it, but that's about it. I'll make, but essentially like a serving and a half in case I want a little extra. Um, if it's something I know everyone might indulge in, like a dessert, I'll
Hmm.
bring enough for everybody. So
That's definitely one of our tips too. So, Thanksgiving can seem pretty daunting for new vegans. It can seem like it might be a little complicated, but David just explained that it doesn't have to be. It can be quite simple. Yes, there are changes. Yes, you will encounter some new obstacles, and that kind of starts with when you go to a family function for Thanksgiving, there will be comments and questions from people about what you're eating, what you're not eating, and why. So we said this before, like be you can go back to, was it episode 2,
yes,
where we talked about how to talk to your family and friends about going vegan. And you may encounter some family that you haven't seen in a long time that don't know that you've gone vegan. And now you have to have that conversation at this family function that is going to be a little, overwhelming. So you need to be prepared for those comments and those questions. And being prepared means kind of knowing what your answers are going to be ahead of time,
yeah.
knowing what's in your food
Yeah.
because they're going to ask that.
And yeah, I think for me the most common questions are what's that and what's in
Yes.
that. Like what's that? Like it's a face like, oh, what's that? Like it's a carrot? I don't. Do you know what carrots are? Have you had an apple? Do you know what food is? Or what's in
That,
that? Like basil? I don't. I
oh, that made me laugh
do
hard.
you
That
just
was
eat
a good
rice? I
one.
mean, what do you?
It's a
You just eat
carrot.
rice and berry chicken? Is that what you eat, man? Because it's pepper, salt and pepper. Calm down a little bit.
Oh God, that was a good one.
And with some other response, I got you crying a little bit.
Tears. That was
That was nice.
funny.
But with some of those questions, especially like when you get a face, like, oh, what's that? Or oh man, like get a face, you're gonna. I know it's hard for some people. Some people you have to have a bit of a thick skin and just
Yes.
let it roll. And people are just, my family's now kind of after almost 10 years, they're kind of like just used to like the quote weird thing that I bring,
Right.
especially my dad. And that's like, "Ugh, whatever." But my mom's intrigued. She's like, "Oh, what's this?" But yeah, it's and my dad makes his comments. I just go and just let him roll because usually
Right.
he's usually trying to like get a rise out of me to like mess around and play, and I'm like I'm not in the mood to joke about murdering animals. It's not funny to me.
Yeah, it's not debate time.
No, it's not. It's definitely not.
Thanksgiving is not, let's have a debate about what I'm eating and what I'm not eating. That this is not the time. It's
Yeah,
not.
don't
It,
don't end up on YouTube. Don't do it.
and you will, so
Don't
be
be on Reddit.
careful.
Vegan freaks out at Thanksgiving or
Oh
front page of
God.
Reddit. Like that's. If you do,
Yeah.
if you end up on there, give us a shout out.
Yeah, there you go.
Say
Let us
hey,
know.
freak out, and then be like, you should also check out theaveragevegans.com.
There you go. Oh my God, I would die. So knowing what's in your food is important. So if you make it yourself and you have recipes you followed, I like to keep them on my phone. So I can just be like, look, they're just normal ingredients. It's not something weird. It's right here. Just calm down. And then I don't have to like explain everything. If it's something that you bought, like one of the turkey list loaves we're about to talk about, um, you can always take a picture of those ingredients too. That way you don't have to memorize everything that's in everything you're eating. You can have it on your phone to be like, this is what's in this, this is what's in this. It's, not strange
Yeah.
things. um, Again, just being prepared because you're going to get questions no matter how many years you've been doing this. They're still going to say something. So
Yeah, and when you're in those situations, trying to talk, David, uh, uh, be a bit nonchalant about like, oh, it's just this. It's just all what's in it. Just like it, literally, just like you're reading a cookie recipe because somebody wants to take it and make it when they get home. Just be
right.
straightforward. If you make if you want to be a little excited, like this is cool, right? That's perfectly fine. But don't if you treat it like a chore, then it's gonna be a psychological message of like this is not interesting. It's a
Right.
problem. It's not fun, for lack of a better word, and you're gonna give that negative feedback if you're either plain or more positive, you're gonna get a better response from the person you're talking to. Even if it's like, oh, okay, cool, they'll end the conversation because it's I find knowledge is power. I obviously. And if you know what's in something, you know how to talk about it in a very calm or excited way, a happy way. Most people will accept your answer and just kind of go, oh, okay. And they don't want to go in deeper because you obviously
Mm-hmm.
know what you're talking about. And if they
Right.
don't know the extent of what they're asking about, they'll stop because you're going to have more information, know more than them, and they're usually going to end the conversation there.
You can even remind them that the food you're eating is very similar to theirs. We're not eating some crazy, strange ingredients. These are normal ingredients. My mashed potatoes are basically the same as yours. I just have non-dairy stuff in them. So I mean, they're not so different that you're eating something foreign. They should be able to kind of relate to what you're eating.
Right.
So if you just remind them that, you just changed out this or this and, made it vegan, it maybe won't be so alien food.
I, I get that with my lentil loaf. Like, what is that? Like, what's that? And I
Yeah.
go, it's lentil loaf. And I would say it's kind of like meatloaf. I use the same seasonings and stuff that we used growing up. And I instead of an egg, because we put eggs in our meatloaf. I don't know if that's how you're supposed to do it, but that's what my mom
Yeah.
did growing up.
Yeah. That's normal. Yeah.
Yeah, and I always say like instead of using egg, I used flax. It's just a binder,
Yeah.
and I
Simple.
move on.
Casual.
Just
Yeah.
here's what it is, and it's a lot like meatloaf, except I don't use beef and I use flax instead of an egg.
Yeah.
Boom, and then,
Exactly.
and the person talks, oh, okay, that's cool, and they just move on, because I didn't make an
A big
ordeal
thing.
out of it. Right?
Right.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. So, one other thing that's really important when you're kind of preparing for the comments and the questions you might get is knowing a general idea of protein, carbs, fat, how it relates to your food, all that jazz.
Yeah, and this usually comes along with the people who, if you're eating like fast food and like and baked goods and stuff, no one cares. But once you go vegan, then everyone becomes a nutritionist.
Yes, yes,
There's
yes. That's kind of
inevitably
cute.
going to be someone who is like, well, like how much protein are you getting? They're going to ask. Someone always asks that. And less now because I've
Every
done it.
time.
I've doing this for so long. It's less often, but usually there's someone new, a new family member. Someone's involved. Someone's invited to
New
have
coworker.
right. If you're going to a potluck, all this stuff
Yes.
works great for a potluck as well. By the way, not just with families and friends.
Right.
But they'll ask the question like, well, yeah, but what's in, is it, oh, I heard that's like, especially all carbs. No, actually, and if you know, you don't have to know like there are 25 grams of protein, 16 grams of
Right.
carbohydrates, 4 grams. You don't have to know that, but you just know roughly like, oh, there's plenty of protein in it. It's about as much as like a chicken breast. If you know the how it relates to other foods, it can get, if you know your information, knowledge is power, and people ask these questions that they don't understand themselves. It's all assumption. You know enough information, they're gonna go, oh, okay, about this. I'm gonna leave you alone. And knowledge is power. It stops them
it.
because they're
Yeah.
gonna go, like even now I go, I've been doing it, and if they try, I go, I've been vegan 8 years. I know the answer to most of these. They usually would go, oh, okay, because they
Right.
know they're gonna hit a wall that I can climb and they can't.
I love that. That was good.
Boom, star. The more you know.
And kind of with that nonchalant, easygoing way of having this conversation, you can always have an out statement. I like this idea.
Like that one.
Well, I just like it.
Yeah.
More veggies for me.
Yeah.
Just like they always say, oh, more meat for me. Yeah, sure. Go on.
Fine.
Go on
Whatever.
with yourself. More veggies for me. No big deal.
Yep.
It's fine.
And that's usually my out. Like, oh, I can eat like that. Like, I can never eat that way. I'm like, more veggies for me. I just go
Yeah.
about my business because it shuts it down. It's like whatever, and it brushes them off, and they can grumble off on their own. Most people won't challenge you after that. They just know you're shutting it down, and they're gonna change the direction of the conversation if they even continue the conversation. But yeah, I always have a couple out statements that just in my back
Yeah.
pocket. I'm like, well, I like it. Oh, I could never eat that. Well, I like it.
Yeah, I like it. Makes me feel good. That's it.
To
I'm
each his
good.
own, or her own, or their own.
It's delicious. Yeah. But our biggest tip, well, maybe it's my tip. Maybe it's not your tip. It's my tip. My favorite tip is to always bring something for them to try. So David has talked about, if it's a dish that he thinks other people might want to taste, he'll make a bigger helping. But for me, I'm all about making sure that there's a vegan dessert because everyone wants to try the desserts.
Heck
And
yeah.
if you put them with the rest of the desserts, they don't have any idea. It's just at the dessert table. You don't know. You just eat it. So I'm all about that dessert because then they're going to be like, "Who made this?" I'm like, "Oh, me, just me. Guess what? It's vegan and delicious."
What's really funny is when you do that. I love that too. Like you put the pie with like put the apple pie with all the others, and like it's
Yeah.
almost all gone, and they see you packing it up, and they're like,
Wait.
"Wait a second, I had a big old piece of
It
that. What are you doing?
was
Like
good.
it's vegan. What's the problem?" And we talk a bit about like like what to say when you bring your stuff in here in a bit. But yeah, I offer people a taste like what is that? Oh, again I use lentil loaf. I make lentil loaf fairly often for Thanksgiving because it's hot. It's a lot of protein. It's pretty dense, so it's pretty filling. And I always offer like it's this. Do you want some? Like I can get you something. Just offer the taste. If anything they say no, that's fine. That's their choice. If they say yes, it might actually open their eyes up and open them up to either being less questionable about the lifestyle, or even open to trying new things. Of like, hey, I
Right.
think about last time. Can you bring that again? And it opens a bit of trust. So the thing they're not used to, you bring in, they might be more likely to try. Like you made something with vegan butter. Like now they're like, oh, that thing you made last time was really good. Was
Exactly.
this it's just vegan mashed potatoes? Put that on a plate. See what that's like.
A few years ago, I got my Thanksgiving meal from a local vegan restaurant, and I went to a family get together. There's a bunch of people there. And there was a man and his daughter that I didn't know. I'd never seen these people before. And I'm eating my food, and of course, there had been questions because here I just took this beautifully made plate out of the fridge and they're all just like grabbing their food and I'm like, well, I'm already gonna go eat now. I'm ready.
You'll have
So I'm
fun in
sitting.
line. I got food already. That's
I
right.
didn't. They were not happy about that. So I'm sitting there eating and this man says, excuse me, is your food vegan? And I said, yeah. And he was like, my daughter's really interested in this. Could she sit with you and you could tell her what you're eating? It was one of the coolest moments of my life. She was like 7 or 8.
Oh,
She was a little girl,
starting them young.
and it was. I was like, "Am I in the Twilight Zone? Like, this is so cool." So I didn't just like tell her what was in my food. I like scooped off some so she could try some of the stuff so she could see what it was like, and she really loved it. And it was one of the coolest moments that I've had as a vegan.
Nice.
And it was the last person I expected. The kid, I never thought the kid would be like, "Hey, can I try your food?" And it was, oh God, it was a moment I'll never forget. So you never know who might be interested in trying your food. So it is always good to have a little bit extra to like share if you can. Because again, we're always about sharing that vegan love.
Yeah,
We want more people to like what we're eating. So you
it,
gotta
it,
share a little bit.
it can also create like a bit of a bonding experience too. Someone who
Mm-hmm.
is new to it, maybe they're just looking going vegan, or they're open to try it. Food is a great bonding thing, a great bonding experience.
Yes.
I mean, all cultures have some sort of like food sharing, and like they have holidays and events all around food because food is life. That's why we're only alive because we can like take in energy and give out energy. So, um, being able to share a food with someone definitely helps that connection with friends, family, coworkers, or even strangers. It's amazing just
Right.
like quote breaking bread with someone is such a
No,
great bonding experience.
that was great. So one other tip we have, and this might be the hardest part for some people, um, try not to freak out when, specifically when the turkey's taken out of the oven. Just, it's going to be hard, but freaked out and don't get grossed out too. I mean, you will be internally, but if you express those feelings, you're immediately going to alienate yourself from the rest of the people in that room. It's going to become a big issue because it's one thing for you to just sit there and eat your delicious food and tell everyone how great it is, let them try it. But when you start telling them what they're eating is gross, which it is kind of gross.
It's dead bodies, it's corpses.
It's soup's gross. But when you point that out to them, it's going to cause a problem.
You're
There's no
inviting it.
doubt about it.
Yeah, you're inviting it.
We talked about this in that second episode too,
Hmm.
telling your friends and family about going vegan.
Yeah,
You can't, you have to refrain from pointing out that what they're doing is wrong because that's not your place.
right.
Your place is to tell them what you're doing and why it's good for you, why it's good for the environment, why it's good for your health and animals, but it's not your place to tell them what they're eating is gross.
Right.
But it'll be difficult.
And if someone earnestly invites the conversation, like, what's that, and why aren't you having this? They actually legitimately want to know. Not they're not trying to be confrontational. Stay calm and just be honest. Oh, I went
Right.
vegan, this year or last year. I've been vegan about a couple years now, and I just here's why. The environment, animal welfare, my own health. You don't have to go into a speech. Just kind of give them a brief example why. Just give them their your little like elevator speech of why
Yep.
you made the decision, and move on from it. If someone is intentionally trying to gross you out or be confrontational, just walk away. Go, okay, and just honestly, if you just kind of make like, okay, kind of say, okay, well, that's nice, and just and walk away, you make them look like the ass.
I was just going to say that says so much more about them and makes people think more about them
Yeah,
than really what they're saying to you.
right.
So, yeah.
Be the bigger person. Be like,
Yes.
they pick up the turkey and like look at and like, okay, and just walk away like, wow, Bill's an asshole, and you're fine because unless your name's Bill, me, whatever. But and you walked
Right.
away, you just walked away from it and let this person show how much childish they are. There's no reason to engage in that. If they
Right.
if they earnestly ask like, hey man, you want any turkey? No, well, why man? It's good. Oh, it's not what I'm into. Be calm, be direct, be polite. If they're being confrontational, just don't engage. Walk away. It's not worth ruining your holiday, ruining the family's friends' holiday, coworkers' holidays. Just don't do it.
Right. Um, let's see. All right. So this one we just talked about. Okay, so I'm gonna do number 5 now because that's a good one.
Okay.
All right.
We got to list people. We
So
have notes. We're professionals.
yeah, we do. This is a really great tip, and I don't think people realize that there are vegan restaurants that make like entire Thanksgiving spreads that you can just pick up and take to whatever outing you're going to. It is super convenient because I know at least 2 in Atlanta. And that's just me with my very limited
Yeah.
knowledge on Atlanta vegan restaurants because I live far away. But anyway, like I was saying a few years ago, I had a local vegan restaurant make their Thanksgiving feast for me. I picked it up, took it to a family gathering, and it was simple, it was easy, it was delicious. I
That's what
didn't
I'm
have to
saying.
question anything or worry about anything.
That's what I'm
And you
saying.
support a
Cater.
local business. I mean, it's great.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm saying just cater Thanksgiving. Why do people go out of the way? Just like it's the same. And I know it might sound elitist to like do catering, but I've looked into it. It's roughly the same cost as just buying all the food and
Right.
doing it yourself. Like if everyone's coming, like everybody chip in this amount of money, just divide it up in the families, and just like everyone
Right.
chip in and just cater it. Anyway, that's a whole rant I can go on because
And Steven's like, I don't want to cook
I
all of
don't
this.
get it why we
Okay.
put so much anyway.
Well, guys,
But
listen, you're
but
coming to my house this Thanksgiving and you're cooking,
I'm
so
a
get
caterer.
ready.
Guess what? No. But if you live near a Whole Foods, if you're lucky enough to live near a
Yes.
Whole Foods they have their like family menus and stuff they put out. They have a vegan option you can do. And most local restaurants have some sort of, if you order within 24 hours or more from Thanksgiving, you can come pick it up and just reheat it. There's a few restaurants, as Meg mentioned, and there's like some small chains like Seven Under. They do. There's really good. Um, so
I guess I could give Cafe Sunflower their own shout out. That's the Atlanta restaurant I got my meal from.
yeah,
They're my favorite vegan restaurant, and it was amazing.
theirs is really good. I think I did theirs one year.
Oh God, it
Um,
was so good.
But yeah, use an app like Happy Cow to find restaurants, and they're mainly dedicated vegan restaurants do this. They'll have a menu to order from. They pre-make it, they refrigerate it, and you go home and heat it up. Um, but you'd be surprised about like your favorite restaurant you go to all the time. They'll have an option. You can just call
They
in and
will,
make an
yeah.
order, and they have a special menu just for the holiday.
Yeah, and I would say, yes, you could order kind of closer to Thanksgiving, but if I were you, I would try to do it a little further out because sometimes they fill up and they
Yeah.
can't, accommodate all the orders. So
Right.
you need to, get that order in pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Um, this is also a great chance to try something new. And we do kind of talk a little bit about that when we talk about in a minute about vegan Thanksgiving staples. You can try something completely different than the regular Thanksgiving stuff that we all try. So,
Yeah.
like this Thanksgiving, I'm doing all the same regular stuff you get, but David can try to make some cool stuff if he wants to. Because I've never had your lentil loaf. I would like to try some. So, if
Noted.
like things like that. So it's definitely a time where you can try something new, something different. My one little tip is I would test run the recipe beforehand because I have not. And one Thanksgiving I had I it did not turn out well. I had one less side that I was really looking forward to. So if you can do like even a small test run beforehand, that's a great idea.
Yeah, I know, I've seen people actually like even like omnivore friends I have like 3 weeks from Thanksgiving they'll do like a mini Thanksgiving run just to make sure like the timing
Hmm.
and where they have everything they need, how it turns out. You're already in the kitchen. You're already like making something, spending time, like putting effort into it. Again, like it's opportunity. Like we said, it's opportunity to try something new. To like, I never made seitan before. I never made like a seitan steak before.
There you go.
Okay, man, it doesn't have to be a faux turkey thing. It's yours. You're gonna eat it. What does it matter? Have some
Right.
fun with it. Make it unique. Make it different. Make it. Maybe you want to invite some questions like, "Hey, man, what's that?" And you want to invite people to ask the questions so you can have the conversation. Great idea
Right.
if you have family and friends who may not be vegan. Maybe they're interested in it, but or they're respectful enough to not engage negatively, but actually ask, I want more information from you. Great opportunity to have them try something new, try something yourself, and engage in the conversation. Again, if you know the people you're engaging with are receptive or at least being respectful.
Right. Um, okay, so these last two tips before we get into food specific things they're really important. And they're things that you may not think about.
Yeah.
David always thinks of these things. Bring your own
Experience, baby.
serving spoons, your own forks, all of your own kind of utensils that you might need because you don't know what's on their stuff.
Right.
And you kind of want to keep yours just, Lord knows what if someone grabs your spoon for your thing
Yeah.
and oh God, you just try to bring your own utensils if you can.
Right. And some people have issues with using, especially if you're new, maybe a little uncomfortable using forks and knives and plates that have been used for non-vegan stuff. Bring your own
Hmm.
stuff for that. I've I was kind of freaked out at the beginning, but I'm not that way much anymore. I'm more concerned about serving stuff for me,
Yes. Hmm.
because my family is just like I come from a family of mostly like dudes. That's three boys and my dad,
Yes.
and we can put
Horrible.
away food. So it's like they'll take a spoon and just scoop everything with one spoon.
Ugh.
Yeah. So, but if there's a spoon in it already, they'll serve with that one,
Right.
and they're less likely to cross contaminate. There's nothing worse than like bringing your own food, not realizing somebody drizzled something in it or used a spoon in yours, and you're like, my stomach hurts.
Oh God, that would
I
make me so
haven't.
angry.
Okay, this is gonna be bad later. Uh,
Yeah, so keeping your food away from their food, not like in a oh my God, gross, keep my
yeah,
food away from you kind of way. Be
not
chill.
quarantining your food.
Chill. Okay. Be calm about it. Don't be obvious. But yes, keep your stuff away from the the non-vegan food just to avoid that contamination.
I usually put mine all the way by itself on one side,
Mm-hmm.
or across the back. The
Oh, that's a
reason
good part.
the reason why is if it's to the side, some people may have their plates in front of yours and like scoop and then like actually drop something into your food. And
Mm-hmm.
if it's not, if it's in the front, they may scoop like gravy, right? Some like turkey gravy and actually spill it. But if your food's across the back, like there's very slim
Yeah,
chance something will be like actually dropped or drizzled or mixed
it's a
in with
great
yours.
tip.
Worst case, you drop something into theirs and it's just vegetables.
Yeah,
Who
right.
cares? So I would suggest putting your food across the back, where it can't be contaminated, or all the way to one side, usually at the very end, and slightly spaced. But that way, there's less likely of someone cross contaminating and making you sick later in the night.
All right, so we're going to get into some actual food stuff. Now, we've talked a little bit about some of these things already as we were discussing.
I wanted to hit the last one though.
What?
Too. This is
Fine,
and
go.
this last one because it's important because this is how I use my mom. My mom's my goalie at these family
I
events.
love that.
Before we go on the food stuff, because this is actually important. If you have an ally, like you have, whether it's a sibling, whether it's a sibling, a friend, a mother, something like that. Again, for me, it's my mom. My mom is super supportive in this stuff. Uh, hey, what's okay for me? Because there may be some things there you can have, and
That's
what's okay,
true.
what's okay, what should I avoid? That's even if it's not someone who prepared the food. If you have an ally who's there who can help direct you, you won't be asking a bunch of random people, and then you have a conversation you don't really
Yeah.
have time or the effort or the
Making
energy
a
to get into.
scene.
Right. So if you have like a cousin Sarah who's like, oh my God, I totally want to go vegan. I can't get rid of cheese. If you have cousin Sarah, like, hey Sarah, come here. What's cool? What should I avoid? Oh, hey, these have turkey in them. This is good. This is totally good. It's just bread and there's nothing on it. She may know, right? So
Right,
again,
right.
that's one big thing. If you have an ally in the room, have them help you, because you asking a bunch of people questions is going to turn heads, and you got to have a conversation that you're probably too tired to get into.
Yes, you just want to eat the food and be
Right,
quiet.
and watch the football
Just
game.
relax. All
Okay,
right,
food
now
stuff.
we're going to talk about food. Let's
Yay!
go.
Woo, food stuff.
Okay, so these are kind of the sides that I think are typical Thanksgiving sides. I don't know about the rest of the world, but so stuffing can easily be vegan. Now, I know some people put meat in it. I've never had anyone ever put meat in my stuffing, so that's not a thing, but I know people that put like sausage in there, which would completely change the stuffing. That's so weird. But anyway, so I can easily make stuffing vegan. Um I add lots of fruits. Like I put apples and I
Ooh.
put sometimes I put pears, and I add my own celery and stuff and just kind of plump it up with some extra veggies in there. But there's no need for your stuffing to have meat or dairy.
Yeah, I think,
Look
and
at your face. What are you doing?
I'm looking because I think Trader Joe's or some chain actually has a vegan dressing. By the way, I'm sorry,
Oh,
I have to.
listen,
Stuffing is what was inside the bird's ass.
listen, I don't
Dressing was on
use
the
the word
outside.
dressing. That's so weird. That sounds like salad
I'm
dressing.
just saying.
I'm from Florida.
I'm from Georgia.
Okay,
I'm telling you,
well,
stuffing was up the bird's ass, and that's what it was. What happened? And
listen, I'm calling it stuffing, and that's what we're going with. Stuffing slash dressing, whatever you
there,
people call it.
fine. Yeah, but there are some pre-made boxes. I do know that Stovetop. I've looked at theirs. They don't have a vegan one.
Right, right.
I was hoping they did, but no, they don't. I think Trader Joe's or there's a
I feel like Trader Joe's does because I think that's what I used.
yeah. I think Trader Joe's and or Whole Foods has a vegan one.
Okay. It was one of
Yeah,
those.
it's one of those for sure.
But you can also make your own
Yeah,
stuffing without actually getting the box. But anyway, so stuffing's very easy to make vegan. Um, Mashed potatoes are also easy to make vegan. I mean, they literally are a plant, but you can use non-dairy butter, your favorite milk, non-dairy milk. So I use cashew milk. What? What?
I got hack. I gotta tell you about this. I'm so proud of this, and I'm cutting you off because I love this hack. You'd be
Okay,
like,
go.
that's
Go.
pretty. They'll think I'm a freaking genius. All right.
Okay.
All right, all right. Everybody, calm down. If you're driving, pull up side of the road. Get prepared.
Oh
So,
my
also,
God.
this is really weird, and no one else does this, and I don't know why.
You're so dramatic.
Take your favorite creamy vegan salad dressing, like ranch or Caesar, and use
Hmm.
that instead.
Huh.
Instead of butter or instead of a vegan butter or a vegan milk, use a salad dressing.
That is an interesting hack.
It has a unique flavor. You haven't probably doesn't have in your typical mashed potatoes.
Right.
But it does the same thing. As it makes it creamy and makes it like it has that same creaminess and like buttery flavor to it. You can
Hmm.
also use a non-creamy one. You can use like Italian dressing, whatever. It still adds a liquid that's gonna. I know. Dude. I mean, I'm not judging people. If you can find a vegan Thousand Island, rock with it, whatever. But use your favorite salad dressing and mashed potatoes. I swear, you'd be like, oh my god, those are delicious.
Well,
Seriously,
I have
try
a
it.
hack for mashed potatoes too then.
Okay,
If
we're
we're
sharing.
doing
We're
this.
sharing. All right, what's up?
Okay, so I never had a hack because no one ever really cooked too much in my family until I met my husband, and they are New Yorkers, upstate New Yorkers, and I have never encountered such strange ingredient combinations as I have with these people, but they always turn out really good. So they put not just butter and milk, but they put mayo in their mashed
Yep,
potatoes. And I was
my
like,
mom
y'all
does too.
crazy? It's delicious.
My mom does
We
it
have
too.
made our mashed potatoes that way for the last 20 years of our marriage because I was like, that's good. Weird. Don't tell people that, but it's good.
I thought that was how you made it. I grew up that way.
Yeah, when I grew up, there was no mayo in ours. It was just butter and milk. I've never heard of that until I went to New York, and I was
Oh,
like, this is weird but delicious.
lumpy, lumpy or creamy?
Creamy.
Okay.
Yeah, you're gonna love our mashed potatoes.
You
What?
don't know what mashed. Skin on or skin off?
Skin off. Off.
See, I like little skin potatoes. It's a fire.
Skin off
It's,
sounds like so murdery right now. Okay,
okay, I'm
next
sorry. I
is
totally messed up your spiel, but I got excited about my little
no.
hack.
Next is sweet potato casserole. This is my favorite Thanksgiving dish to make. I make a killer one. And again, it just has vegan butter, cashew milk, and then I use the sugar in the raw to add a little bit of sweetness to it. But then I put the Dandy's marshmallows on top and melt them on top of my sweet potato casserole. It's like a dessert. It's delicious. Listen,
You make
welcome
it
to
weird. Like you did.
Thanksgiving.
You had stuff there. I remember like. It sounded like you were making one thing and then like you started making like candied yams, man.
Yes, it is basically, but it's not because
It's not. It's like
they're like mashed potatoes, but sweet potatoes, and they are like candied almost.
yeah,
But I already bought the freaking Dandy's marshmallows, dude. I already got them
I'm
in the
not arguing
pantry.
with
I'm
you. I'm
ready.
with you. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. It's like you remember the episode of Friends where Rachel had to make a trifle and
Okay,
she
listen.
mixed like shepherd's pie. I was like, okay, this is kind of going interesting, and then it went bloop, like that's candied yams. Like I don't know what just happened, but you just like you made two things into one.
Listen, yes,
I'm not judging you.
delicious. You're gonna
It
love
sounds delicious.
it.
It sounds delicious.
And again, no dairy, no meat. Super simple. You don't have to change everything. Next is mac and cheese. Now, you can make a killer vegan mac and cheese. There are a million recipes. This is the one time where I'm going to be like, Pinterest is your friend. Google is your friend, but really Pinterest is your friend. Because you can find vegan recipes for all of your staples, but mac and cheese can absolutely be made vegan. There's no reason why it has to have dairy in it. Um, that one, I kind of have a really good recipe, but it depends on what cheese I can find, to be honest with you, because you don't always have all the options.
Yeah, and I use Daya when I make mine, and
Oh,
that's I
gosh.
know no one likes Daya. I don't mind Daya. Daya's fine. Daya tastes fine to me
We
as
will
long as it's
never have a
cooked.
day of sponsorship
No,
with
I
my
like Daya. I don't have
complaining.
a
I'm
problem with
so
it.
sorry.
I don't hate it. Let's put it that way. But I think my mac and cheese is super simple. It's just I've said it before on the previous episode.
Yes, you have.
Unflavored plant milk. But put handfuls of your favorite vegan cheese in there till it gets all goopy and really thick, and thin it out with a little bit of veggie broth. Boom, simple
Done.
cheese sauce. There are other ones using cashews,
Yes,
nutritional
absolutely.
yeast. I'm sure you make one that's thousands times better than what I just said, but that's my really fast mac and cheese sauce.
That sounds amazing, though. Green bean casserole. Now, I have known people in my life to put like bacon and ham into green bean casserole, but again, not necessary. I think I've only known one person in my life to ever do that. So it's pretty much, unless green bean casserole, the only thing that's really kind of weird is the like the soup thing that you're supposed to put in there.
Oh,
I It's like supposed to be. Oh, I don't even like to say
is
the
it cream of
words.
mushroom?
Yes, it's like anything that's a cream of in a soup makes me want to gag.
Really, there's the we'll talk later. There's something I actually like. I liked growing up that had cream mushroom soup in it. I haven't had it since I've been vegan because I can't find a readily available cream mushroom soup
Mm-mm.
that's vegan. So I mean, I kind of just
I
given up
just
on it.
usually
You can
add
order it, but
like a cashew milk and just like some butter and some seasoning and stuff. I don't really add like the soup part of it because I again like you said I don't know of any cream of soups that you could replace it with. So that one is a little bit harder to make like the creamy part of the green bean casserole, but everything else is just green beans and like
I swear I've made a green bean casserole years ago when I first went vegan. I swear I did it, and it was really good. And like I had none left when I went home.
well, find that recipe and you
I'm
can
gonna
be in
have
charge of
to.
that one.
I'm gonna have to.
Biscuits. You can make your own vegan biscuits with very simple ingredients. Oh, I might make David make those too. He's got this little bread maker
Man, I can
thing.
make biscuits now. I can make biscuits. I just drive around the store and they got vegan biscuits.
But do we know of any companies that make vegan biscuits?
Yes. I can't. We'll link to them in the show notes. They're. I know. I think. I can't remember the name of it now. There
I do
is.
know that Pillsbury does the crescent rolls, so
Yes.
worst case scenario, you could have those as well.
But there is a company, and they're. I know they're Trader Joe's. I think they're at Publix as well. Um,
I wonder if Kroger's going to come out with some
they've become out with some crazy
Thanksgiving like products because they've come out with so many good ones lately.
Immaculate Baking. That's what it's called. Yes.
Ooh,
So Immaculate Baking. They do a vegan biscuits. I think they have cookies, all kinds of stuff too. Yeah, they do. Yeah, that's
nice.
it. That's how I know them because they do the cinnamon rolls. So they have vegan cinnamon rolls, and they also
Hmm.
have biscuits and like pie crusts. Yeah. So Immaculate Baking Company.
You can also, if you have a vegan bakery near you, you could have that if they make biscuits. So there is one in Atlanta called Flour and Time.
Mm.
She is like a delivery bakery. She doesn't
Oh,
have like a brick and mortar store yet,
so
which
good.
she should. But she makes the best vegan biscuits I've ever had in my life.
Man,
So
tofu
if
scramble
you
on
know
them.
of like a
Mm,
bakery near you, let find out if they make biscuits because that would be a great way to support a local business and not have to worry about making your own.
absolutely.
And then of course dessert. Now there's a million recipes you can make, yes, but if you want, a typical pie, like a pumpkin pie or an apple pie or whatever, I always go to Whole Foods because they have multiple options. So that's usually my suggestion to people. You can also, I think can you get some at Trader Joe's? I feel like there was one pie there was one option. Maybe I'm wrong.
I don't.
Um,
I don't.
they have desserts there for sure, like cookies that you could bring that
Yeah.
are vegan. Um, but the pies at Whole Foods are amazing, and they're already marked vegan, so you don't have to like search for them.
You can make a sweet potato pie or a pumpkin pie at home, and they can be made from scratch. They're gonna be not gonna be as thick because they require an egg.
Right.
You can make a flax or a chia seed, and they don't. It's one of the few things that chia seed and flaxseed eggs don't bind very well. Um, you can use extra flour to thicken it up. Just a heads up, if you're gonna do a pumpkin pie or a sweet potato pie, I would suggest you get some agar agar, which is just a plant based thickener. You don't
Mm-hmm.
need very much, and it's not that expensive. But if you do plan on making a homemade pie, I would just, instead of trying to like, how do you make it without agar? Just get some. It's not that expensive. It's good to have on hand if you want to do like any type of like vegan jello. Agar agar is good for that, or a cheesecake. It's really good for it. Um, so if you do a lot of vegan baking at home, I would get some anyway. But yeah, I would, like with most pies, unless you just really want to spend hours in the kitchen, find a really good vegan pie. Whole Foods, again, I know I always feel like saying Whole Foods feels elitist, but um,
And they
they're
have
popping up everywhere.
options for us that other
Yeah.
places don't. I
But
mean, what do you want from me?
I got my favorite pie. It's the mixed berry pie at Whole Foods.
Oh
It's
my God, I once.
it's
It is so
you've
good.
had it?
And
Like
it's not, they don't usually make a lot of them.
no, I got well. I was a Whole Food where I used to live, and oh, broke something. And then, um, everybody heard that. My desk just fell apart. No, I'm just kidding. Drop my pen. But they made it, and it was like a fall thing. They made it in the fall, and it was the only time they
Yes.
made it. It was
Mhm.
like it's like strawberries and like raspberries and blueberries. It's literally just
Mhm.
a bunch of berries mushed into a pie. It's my
So
favorite.
good.
It's so good. And like I literally stood in the baking area like sulking, and this girl who's an employee there, she walks up and she's like, "What's wrong?" I'm like, "I don't have the mixed berry pie." She went, "I know, I'm so sad." She wasn't even vegan either. And it's always vegan. They don't make a non-vegan version of it. They make it's only a vegan one. And she was
Mhm.
like, "I know, it was so
Yeah.
good." And then this past couple of years, they started making it again. At least from where I've seen, I'm like, I'm so excited. That's my favorite thing.
Yes.
I could just eat that whole pie by myself. That's all I'm
Oh
having
god.
Thanksgiving is this mixed berry pie. Okay, I'm
I
done
always
gushing.
get their apple pie because
That's
it
good.
looks so authentic. It's like thick
It's really good.
crusted. Oh, it's amazing. But again, that's also an option to contact your local vegan restaurant or bakery because they'll have some kind of dessert that you could get from there as well. And if you are in Atlanta, not just Flower and Time, but Cafe Sunflower has some of the best desserts I've ever had in my life as well. Their peanut butter pie. Whoo, it's so good. Why do we always have to talk about food at night, David?
Oh no, I'm going to the gym after this to come home making dinner. So work for it.
Again, another thing we have mentioned that you can try something new. So we've gone over the vegan staples that you're pretty used to. We're going to talk about your turkey-less options in a second, but this is a time where you can try something new. So maybe get creative, um, whether it's like something for your turkey or whether it is a whole new different kind of recipe. Like I made is it what is it ratatouille? Is that a thing?
Yeah, it is.
Is that
It's
what?
also a
Yes,
movie, but
yes.
yes.
With the vegetables and they're all beautifully lined up and the yes, I made that one time and it was I'd never made it before and it turned out so good that I've made it several times
Oh,
since then. So the new thing you try may become a staple for the rest of your
huh.
life. So that's exciting.
Yeah, I've never actually made it before. I was looking at it and go like, man, that looks like way harder than I'm willing to put in. I don't
As
know.
long as you're careful with the slicing
Uh,
apparatus thing
I
whatever that's
have a
called.
mandolin I can use.
Yes, let me just tell you, you guys should skip over for the next 30 seconds if you're squeamish. The thing you fear with one of those,
Oh,
slicing a
slicing your
finger,
finger? Yeah.
I've done
Oh
that.
yeah, me too.
I did that and I have never, I mean, I've given birth and that was pretty awful, but that was the most intense pain. I could clearly physically feel it right now where
It
I was like
lingers,
on the
man.
floor. Oh my God, it lasts for
I can
days where
still
it
feel it
just throb and pain. It's, ooh, be
because it
careful. That's all we're saying. Just be
slices like
careful.
right through.
Yes.
Okay, I don't want to get. I mean, I'm not squeamish, but I don't want to turn it back. But like, I want everybody to go nope and just turn it off. But
Okay, those only 30 seconds. We're fine. All right, now let's talk about some of your kind of turkey options. Now we've talked about how you can make your own, and David's talked about he likes to make a lentil loaf. So there are options to make your own kind of turkey or roast or whatever you want to call it, main part of your meal. I don't know. Um, so you could make your own, and I would like to try David's lentil loaf, though I've never had one of your seitan steaks either.
it's
But
pretty
that would
good.
be a great option.
Maybe I'll do both.
I might make you do a lot, so we'll see. But there are options you can buy. So some that I have had the Trader Joe's turkeyless stuffed roast, and that was good. Maybe a little bit bland, not bland, but like not as spiced up as maybe some of the other ones, but it was delicious. It was perfectly fine. It was big enough for me. So that's definitely an option if you're near a Trader Joe's. Which one have you tried on here, David?
I've done the Gardein turkey cutlets, the filled roast celebration roast, and the tofurkey veggie roast with wild rice stuffing.
You've done all of those?
Yes, I've been doing this for 8 years, man.
Wow. I know. I'm just curious. I just
Um,
find it interesting that you've tried all of those. So, I have tried the holiday roast from God, I always say Gardine.
it's Gardein. Yeah.
Gardine. I say it the other way because it just seems wrong this way.
Yeah, I
But
know.
I've had their holiday roast, and I actually have one in my freezer now because I went to Sprouts the other day and they had like four options. I immediately texted David. I was like, "Oh my god, I've never seen so many in one spot. I want to buy them all." But I love the holiday roast. That's my favorite actually from all of these options.
Hmm.
Which would be your favorite?
Um, it depends. I'm gonna talk about the three that I've had real quick. So the cutlets are
Okay.
great; they're individual. So if
Hmm.
you don't want to have a lot of leftovers, you just want to have one thing for yourself, and that's it. Not to haul anything. I would suggest that they're nice. They're like breaded, and they have like they actually have a little bit of stuffing in them, which is nice.
Hmm.
And I did those last year, I think. And it's just I was like I don't have time to cook anything. I've been busy with
Right.
work and stuff like that, so I just grabbed those. And they came with like three or four of them, and it was great. They were frozen. I heated one up. I went to my parents' house and baked it, heated it up, had that, and I was done. And then I had some for the rest of the week that I could heat up when I wanted it. It
Those
was
are
good.
usually available throughout the year
Yeah,
too. Like
those are
that's
year
not.
round.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
The filled roast is celebration roast is good. I think it's a little it's made of like really dense seitan. It's more like a ham kind of a
Hmm.
thing. So it's good, but it's definitely heavier. If you want something that's like
Right.
really heavy, that's great. Um, I like the tofurkey veggie roast with wild rice stuffing. I thought the stuffing was really good. And I use those roast leftovers. I use them to make sandwiches and stuff with. And I
Yes.
thought the tofurkey one was better for making the sandwiches with.
Yes. I've had that
Um,
one before too. It was
it's
really good.
it's not as dense as the celebration roast is. They're both really good. They're
Right.
both specific to the holiday. Uh, but I found the tofurkey one is bigger. The
Hmm.
holiday roast is probably about the half the size. And I think not they're about the same price too. So you're gonna get more for your money, I think, with the tofurkey one.
Right.
But yeah, the celebration roast is a little heavier, which is fine. I like it. I get it just to keep in the freezer sometimes, and just when I
Right.
want like make like some sort of like soup and sandwich and stuff for the week, I'll grab it and thaw it and cook it. But yeah, tofurkey one is of those three that I've had is probably my favorite one.
Um, so there are a bunch of options, but my one tip is you should get this early because they do sell out and they sell out pretty quickly, and then it's hard to find. A lot of the vegan options they sell out pretty quickly, like those Dandies marshmallows that I mentioned. They're gone pretty quickly. So when I saw them at Sprouts, and this is the biggest bag I've ever seen. I was like, some of those might disappear before Thanksgiving
Well,
comes. I
especially
love
now
marshmallows.
because
Yes,
veganism is trending up. It's definitely it's
right.
growing every year, which is why we're getting more and more options every year. But people are selling out every year. Heck, even during this whole pandemic, like there was a tofu shortage, there was a tempeh shortage,
There
and there was
was.
something else. I was like, really? Why can't I find? Like, I think peanut butter too was shortaged for
I
some
could
reason.
not find tofu for the longest
Oh, when I
time.
did, I
It
bought like
drove me
packs.
nuts. Yes, and then I had to hoard it like a weirdo,
Or it's like a toilet paper
like it's toilet paper.
or paper towels. Yeah. So if you're planning on something to make that's specifically on like the vegan area, get it, freeze it if you can, put it in the refrigerator and hold on to it because it will sell out the closer you get to the holiday for sure.
Yes, absolutely. And our last tip, no matter what, remember to enjoy the holiday as best you can. We
Absolutely.
realize there's a pandemic right now. There's all kinds of stuff going on in the world. And you may have some weird conversations at your family get togethers this Thanksgiving, but do your best to enjoy it. We have to find those moments in this crazy freaking year to just
We should
enjoy
we
ourselves.
should speaking of that, we should have like a vegan alcohol episode.
We
'Cause
will have it on the list.
because we might need that sooner rather than later. I don't know.
I mean, maybe we can record it during our Thanksgiving feast and
Oh,
right because we'll be together.
yeah.
And you can
Oh,
always pass out and take a nap.
that's true, man. You're gonna sound like a alcoholic now. Calm down.
No, calm down. Well, if we're testing a bunch.
Well, if we gotta test it for you people, I mean, you know. Let's take a
So
trip.
we hope that you all have a wonderful Thanksgiving. We're going to be together, maybe, possibly. You
Me
can
first.
definitely follow us and find us. You can find our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, Pocket Cast, or anywhere else you get your podcast fix. Make sure to leave us a review and recommend us to your friends, family, coworkers, strangers, the delivery driver. Of course, follow us on Instagram at The Average Vegans, where we will be sharing our Thanksgiving food pictures, maybe some Insta stories. So you should definitely tag us in what you're eating. I'd love to see. Email us at theaveragevegans@gmail.com. There'll be show notes, links, and more found on the website. We'd love to hear your vegan story, your favorite vegan treats, especially Thanksgiving ones, your episode suggestions, and whatever questions you might have about the vegan lifestyle. And that is it for today's episode about
Woohoo!
Thanksgiving.
I'm already
I
hungry.
get excited.
And with all that,
All right.
till next time, guys.
Thanks. See you next week.